and we're going to copy these 3 weeks using Control C on Windows or Command C on a Mac, and then we're going to do a paste special. So edit, paste special, values. And we've just pasted special those 3 weeks in this highlighted blue section here back onto the master schedule on the expected unit calc tab. So we now have the 1 week of the current year, so that's like the preceding 7 days, and then we have 3 weeks here highlighted in blue, which is the previous year, 3 weeks going forward. Okay, so we've just shown you 2 ways we can update the units. We can do 4 weeks of trailing units, or we can use, in this special situation like this, you can split it into 1 week and 3 weeks, or 2 and 2, or whatever. Either way we do it, the expected units are now up to date, and we're going to follow the next stage here, which is to make some changes in some scheduled shifts in order to reflect the changes in our expected units. So when inputting these new up-to-date expected units, it's automatically made changes in 2 areas. First area is it's filled out this section, which we're going to get to in a moment. And the second area is that it's going to automatically change the hourly tracking tab, which is down here on the bottom. So first of all, we have to assume that this area has been filled out for each day of the week. On this schedule it has. Of course, if that has not already been done, such as on this particular day, that needs to be filled out before we can go forward. So let's go back to an example here. Let's say on Thursday. So we have a series of zeros, and then we have 3 negative ones here. So this is telling us that for our expected units, which is now 16, 34, and 19, that we would need to have now 2 people to cover 16 units, 3 people to cover 34 units, and 2 people to cover 19 units. However, if you look on row 5, which is right along here, this tells us how much staff we actually have scheduled, and I think if you go to the far right here, it might have it listed, yes. So it's this actual staff level on this line here, but I don't think it continues over here. So you just have to remember actual staff level beneath that calculated staff level. So we currently have 1 person scheduled here for this hour, which is just the sum of these. 2 people scheduled for this hour, which is the sum of this series of cells. And this one is the sum of this series of cells. So it's telling us that we need to add 1 more person. So we could just look up who's available. Let's say, for example, that Falguni is available. So we could just put in a shift for her here from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Then I would just type in the shift here. And now that's covered. So they're no longer short during that period. Another part of this day, so we want to have zeros all the way across if we can. Between 4 and 5, there's 12 expected units, which is sort of on the borderline actually. So it says that we are overstaffed by 1. So if we wanted to be tighter on our staff, which we probably should in this case, we could cut this down to 0 or delete it in this case. Now this person is already working a shift that looks like it's longer than 5 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they would have to have a half-hour break here. So I'd give a guy a half-hour break there, so then this person would have to come in half-hour early. This change would need to be lift the changes here, so that's 12 noon until 7 p.m. So 12 till 4:30. It says a.m. there, but it's 12 noon. So n is going to be noon. 12 noon till 4:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. I'm just abbreviating this a little bit so it will show up on the schedule side. So this is for Carly. So that's the shift there that we just changed. So there is room. Okay. There's also a -1 means that we don't have enough staff. We're short a person during this hour, so it's saying that we were expecting 18 people, so we would need another person during that time. So we could just extend Carly. Now instead of 7 o'clock, she's there until 8 o'clock. So let's change this over here. Now that's covered. The other problem here is that Laura is working, let's see, 4:30 p.m. to reflect that change that we made here before. And she's working until close, which is 11:30. That's more than 5 hours working in a row. So Carly's going to have to stay an extra half hour on top of what she's already scheduled. Change that to 8:30. Laura would now have her half-hour break here. So her shift is now 4:30 until 8. And 8:30 p.m. until basically close, which is listed on here as 11:30 p.m. So anyways, you can see that we have all zeros here, which means we're staffed exactly what the units are telling us that we should staff. Now here's what our scheduling graphs will look like before they're filled in. Of course, if you had watched the previous video, you would know that you would have printed out 1 page per day, so you would have the Wednesday for all 3 stores, the Thursday for all 3 stores, the Friday, the Saturday, and so on. So 1 page per day. You would already have this filled in with names of who's working each of these highlighted shifts. So when you're making the changes on the master schedule and you're tweaking it here and there, so say for example if we had say somebody was originally working 11 to 2 and now the revised unit says that we need an extra person until 3, we could that change on the hourly tracking tab on the master schedule for that particular store, and then we would make a corresponding change on the scheduling graph. But it's very important to keep those two in sync. Now as the weeks go by, if you make a lot of changes as the sales change, these scheduling graphs are going to get quite messy with pencil marks and erasing this here and there. So sometimes it's better to just start fresh and print off a new page for 1 day of the week or even all 7 days of the week. And in order to start fresh, we need to click on here to go to the Units tab. And then we return back to our master schedule. we go to the expected unit calc tab. So maybe it opens on the top, we go all the way to the bottom. We highlight everything that's in yellow, and then we copy it. And then we go back to our scheduling graph file, which was looking like this. So we go to the units tab on here. So keeping in mind that this was for Florence, we cut and paste. So cut and paste special values starting in this cell here. So on this one is T4, but basically it's starting at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Fill that in. We would do the exact same thing again for Home Depot and also for Dundas. At that point, you would now have revised scheduling graphs. Now these colors will tell you the new recommended points where we want to have staff. And then you would follow the training from the previous video and once again fill these shifts up with staff. You can even use the previous ones that were already printed and you already had people on. You can use those as suggestions. And that's basically how you do it, as long as you follow the directions from the previous scheduling video. Now to sum up, we've learned a couple things in this video. First of all, we've learned how to update the expected units per hour. And then I've shown you how to make the appropriate shift changes, given that we now have new expected units. Now keep in mind, we need to follow the principles explained in the scheduling training video that you have watched previously. And if you have any questions, as always, please just give me a call. Thanks for listening.